3 recordings. No, I will cut down to chapter 47. Back to Babylon. So you can't really follow Isaiah's writings in chronological order. Yeah. As the Lord speaks to him, he writes. And so now the focus is again back to Babylon. They shall be punished. In chapter 47, part A, I think we should have a new there shall be a new outline, chapter 47. The first and the last. So you see in part A, destruction of Babylon. And in chapter 48, and they should be studied together. So destruction of Babylon. They were destroyed, captured by the Middle Persian Empire. And then departure from Babylon. Go home. Now you are free. The Jews go back home to Jerusalem. So under the first part, chapter 47, we'll be looking at the superiority. All the S are sadism, sensuality. My tongue. Okay. So, verse 1. Here we find the proud Babylon. And God had all this against Babylon, the Babylonians. They were proud. They were idol worshippers. They were wicked. And they desire pleasure and profiteering and so on. So, verse 1. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground without a throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for you shall no more be called tender and delicate. Would you say this to whether the Queen of England or the King of Jordan? And to say this, you're asking for the date, of departure. But you are up there. You are up there, sitting on your throne, and God is saying, you come down and sit on the dust. Not even sit on the floor, sit on the dust. In the dust. Oh, virgin daughter of Babylon. Why virgin daughter of Babylon? It means this country has never been captured before. This country has never been taken over by any other nation before. So it's virgin. Oh, virgin daughter of Babylon. Never captured before. Sit on the ground without a throne. Royalty, they sit on throne, but you sit in the dust. O daughter of the Chaldeans. Chaldeans is another name for Babylonians. For you shall no more be called tender and delicate. Of course, the royal people, they go for manicure, pedicure, and all kinds of cure. They are so tender and delicate. No more. Take the millstone and grind meal. Remove your veil. Take off the skirt. Uncover the thigh. Pass through the rivers. It means what? 做工. You are now a slave. And who will be taking the millstone to grind, grind the flour and make bread and all this. Who? The slaves, the servants. You who have never done this, now do it. Take the millstone and grind meal. Remove your veil. Show off all your Botox or no Botox, whatever, show. Because you cover yourself. Now, taking off the skirt is not being naked. It's just that, they are so well dressed. Remove everything. Get into your working clothes. Uncover the thigh and pass through the rivers. Pass through. Maybe they got to go and fish, walk go and work. But the Israelites, when God took them through the rivers, took them through the waters, they walk on what? Dry ground. But you will be walking in the water. So lift up, take off your skirt, uncover your thigh. You have to work. Your nakedness shall be uncovered. Yes, your shame will be seen. I will take revenge, and I will not arbitrate with the men. So no more negotiation, no more appeal. But I thank God that God has demonstrated His grace. You look at the reduction of the sentence, it is grace a lot. Say what you like. From so many years down by more than half, right? It is grace. One of them is 7 or 8 months, and then the girl. Yeah, so God answered our prayers. Not only that church was praying, I believe many churches in Singapore were praying. Because when one part of the body hurts, the rest hurts. Yeah. So praise God for that. Verse 4. As for our Redeemer, the Lord of hosts is His name, the Holy One of Israel. He is our Redeemer. Sit in silence and go into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for you shall no longer be called the Lady of Kingdoms. So posh, so grand, all the Chanel and all, no more. Sit in silence and go into darkness. It's a picture of a solitary confinement, like in prison, solitary confinement. You have nothing. All will be taken from you. And you see what God accused them. Verse 6, I was angry with my people. What? They sinned. I have profaned my inheritance and given them into your hand. So it was the will of God. It was the permissive will of God. God's perfect will is that they will obey and follow Him and He will bless them. But because they sinned, God permitted them to be disciplined. And He gave them to the people of Babylon. And given them into your hand, you showed them no mercy. God is a God of mercy and grace. And we need both. Yeah. But this, Babylonians, you showed them no mercy. You went beyond the limits. On the elderly, you laid your yoke very heavily. Yoke, the yoke. So you just make their life very miserable. You punish them really physically, excruciating, cruel. And you said, I shall be a lady forever. That means I shall be a queen. I shall be a royalty forever. So when I'm up there, I'm a queen, I'm a king, whatever. I am not accountable to anyone. I can do as I like. And you said, I shall be a lady forever. So that you did not take these things to heart. Some people, they can do evil and still live as if it's normal. It is routine. Didn't bother them. So that you did not take these things to heart, nor remember the latter end of them. How these people suffer, you don't care. And today, you look at the world around us, persecution is going on, right? You know, right? In Syria, the Christians are persecuted, and IS, you know, even amongst the Muslims, you have the Sunnis and the Shiites and so on, and they've got all this bitterness, which is historical, quite from the ages past. And until today, they are still fighting one another. And when they capture the other, they really torture them, they really kill them, right? So, there is still no peace, only in Him. Verse 8, therefore, hear this now, you who are given to pleasures, who dwell securely, who say in your heart, I am, and there is no one else beside me. These Babylonians, they are champion, they dare say this. You know, who only dare to say, I am and there is no one else besides me? God. But they have promoted themselves to that level that they even dare say in their heart, I am, and there is no one else besides me. This is blasphemy. I shall not sit as a widow, nor shall I know the loss of children. You know the truth? It happened to them. They became widows and they suffered losses. But these two things shall come to you in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon you in their fullness, because of the multitude of your sorceries, for the great abundance of your enchantments. Not only was God angry with them for abusing their power, but also for idolatry, sorceries and enchantments and so on. And you read the first part, in a moment, in one day. From the little research I did, it happened on the 3rd of November 538 BC. You don't believe me? You go and check. But it was in one night. You look at Daniel chapter 5 verse 20. Verse 30, Daniel chapter 5 verse 30. Daniel chapter 5 verse 30. You know, earlier in the day, Belshazzar, the king, he wanted people to interpret for him the writing on the wall. And then he even had Daniel involved. Verse 25, Mini, Tekel, Hasin, and so on. So, that was the word, and then he sought interpretation. That night, after Daniel gave the interpretation in verse 26 and so on, that very night, verse 30, Belshazzar, king of the Chaldeans, was slain. And Darius the Mede, Medo-Persian Empire, the Persians, Darius the Mede received the kingdom, being 62 years old. That very night, suddenly, in a moment. So, the fulfillment of prophecy, whatever was spoken, came to pass. And that was Isaiah's ministry. So back to verse 9, Isaiah 48. In a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood, it shall come in fullness because of the multitude of the sorceries, for the great abundance of your enchantments. Verse 10. For you have trusted in your wickedness. Before, I mentioned the river, the drying or diverting of river, that part that's how they happen in one night. Okay, so now, go to verse 10. For you have trusted in your wickedness. You have said, no one sees me. Your wisdom and your knowledge have warped you. And you have said in your heart, I am and there is no one else besides me. Now, if you go to Babylon, you visit their museum, and actually they were quite advanced in science, in culture, in whatever, you know. And so they were resting on their wisdom and their knowledge. It is intellectual pride. And this distorts their judgment. What is good and what is wrong. When you're up there, you feel like you're almost God, can do almost anything. You are above the law. The law doesn't apply to you. And again, God accused him of blasphemy. He said, I am and there is no one else beside me. Therefore, verse 11, therefore, evil shall come upon you. You shall not know from where it arises, and trouble shall fall upon you. You will not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon you suddenly that night, which you shall not know. And this was spoken, I like to repeat it. This was spoken 200 years before Cyrus was born. You understand? If only the Babylonians go and study the Bible, talking about me, talking about us. Let's make sure the river, they don't come divert the river. We guard the river. But they don't know. They have no knowledge, which you shall not know. Verse 12. Stand now with your enchantments and the multitude of your sorceries, in which you have labored from your youth. Perhaps you will be able to profit. Perhaps you will prevail. Actually, God was just mocking him, mocking Babylon. Maybe you can make some money from your idols. So some people go for fortune telling and this and that. Sure make money. But let me tell you, there is always a trade-off. The devil is not going to give it to you free of charge. He wants something back. Maybe you will prevail. Perhaps you will prevail. You are wearied in the multitude of your counsels. So who are your counsel? So you have the astrologers. Let now the astrologers and the stargazers and the monthly prognosticators stand up and save you from what shall come upon you. Now, who are all these people? These people, their vocation is to look at stars. They see stars. Every day they see stars. And then they predict future. I tell you, until today, there are still some people who follow the stars, right? Their date of birth, their celebration, and this and that and so on. So I tell my PMC class, whatever you do, don't choose all these wedding dates based on all this. You're starting your marriage on the wrong footing. You choose a date that you like, whatever. Don't bother. Don't go and look at all these almanacs and so on. But you have an astrologer. So God is saying, you're so good with all this, right? So you see whether your astrologer, your stargazers, your prognosticators can help you or not. That's what God is saying. Stand up and save you from what shall come upon you. And the beauty is, at this point in time, Babylon wasn't even in power. It was Assyria. This is how wonderful it is. Verse 14, behold, they shall be as stubble. The fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. It shall not be a coal to be warmed by, nor a fire to sit before. Stubble is like all broken down. The fire will burn them. Babylon. That means your empire will be broken down. No one will deliver. The fire from the power of the fire. It shall be a coal to be warm. It shall not be cold to be warm, nor a fire to sit before. Weak. Thus shall they be to you, with whom you have labored, your merchants from your youth. they shall wander, each one to his quarter. No one shall save you. So they use these merchants. These merchants used to be doing very well, traveling globally, so to speak, to trade their merchandise and so on. But now, your merchants from your youth, they have wandered, they shall wander each other to his quarter. No one shall save you. Now, trade is my business people go to your country, your business people come to my country. But when this thing happened, first of all, your business people got nothing to go to sell, right? Those people also got nothing, they don't want to come. They go back to their own quarters. And if this should happen to Singapore, we are doomed. So the government has been doing its very best to make sure this is the hub. We are the financial center in this part of the world. So we will go globalization. But we also want to make it attractive for people, businesses to come. From Babylon, God is saying, they, your neighbors and other countries, they shall wander each to his own quarter. Nobody will come. You will be destroyed. No one shall save you. Okay? Look at Babylon today. God's curse upon Babylon, it shall not be revealed. And even Alexander the Great wanted to do it. He died before that. Saddam Hussein wanted to be the modern day Nebuchadnezzar and rebuild the thing. Did he complete the job? No. And the Babylon that is standing today is quite a few miles away from the original spot of Babylon. We studied in earlier chapters and so on. Even that place at night, the animals want to stay there. Right? God's word, his curse upon Babylon, indeed is firm, and it has come to pass. So no one shall save you. Babylon. Amen.